Living in a condo, it's not for everyone, especially if you're living in the middle of a city. But if you're watching this video, maybe you're asking yourself if it's the right move for you. Not too long ago, I asked myself the same thing. So today I made you guys a list of the pros and the cons of living in a condo. If you're new to the channel, my name is Jason Connolly. I'm a real estate agent here in Portland, Oregon, and I help a lot of people who are moving to the city. About half my business is condos, and over the years, I've fallen in love with this lifestyle. So today I'm going to go over a list of the pros, the cons, and then some misconceptions. But first I want to share with you guys my journey deciding to move here from a house. Not just a few years ago, I reached one of my big goals and I bought a house with a backyard for my dog. It was the millennial dream, but it was an old house and she needed some love. And after living in an old house with a ton of character for a while, I learned that it wasn't what made me happy. So if you need a house with a yard, hey, power to you. Thanks for watching this video anyways. So I've lived in Portland my whole life. I've lived in townhouses, houses, apartments in many different neighborhoods: Mount Tabor, Concordia, Cully, Fopo, and Happy Valley. So I've lived a little bit around and I've had different experiences, but I've never lived in in a high-rise before. So a lot of the conversations I would have with people when buying a condominium is what you're really purchasing, and it's three things. It's not gonna be a cat that doesn't leave you alone. Generally with buying a condominium, you're buying three things: safety, convenience, lifestyle. And as I've grown and I'm still continuing to grow into the person that I wanna be, I'm prioritizing my time above all. When I bought my house a few years ago, my plan was very investor focused. It was I got into my house with an investor mindset. I wanted to finish the basement and build detached ADUs in the back and turn my single family residential into a fourplex. Since then, my priorities have shifted and quality of life is one of the most important things in my life. And that's kind of where it came back with, comes back to buying time. A lot of the people that I look up to the most, they spend their money on things that buy them time or convenience, and I see that they're happier for it. So I started shifting a lot of my focus that same way, not just where I live, but just lifestyle habits. So a couple factors for me that helped push me to this decision, because I was thinking that I would be a couple years out before I moved into a condo. I was relatively happy in my house and wanted to build a little bit more equity. But because the condo market in Portland is so soft, inventory is like 14 months, which is realtor talk, but it just means it's a really strong buyer's market. In fact, the prices right now are a little under $450 a square foot, when at the peak in about 2017, they were close to $600 a square foot. So I'm seeing a lot of properties that are heavily discounted, and I was able to get not just my dream property, but I also got it on amazing terms that were perfect for me in my situation. And also when I was younger, I would watch TV shows of people in New York or other big cities, and I loved the idea of being able just to walk around everywhere and get more of an urban feel. I've only lived in Portland, which is a relatively small city, but it's still, I still have that downtown experience that I wanted. So okay, going into just some misconceptions about downtown or living in a high rise. So I'm going to use these words interchangeably. Urban living is the same as downtown. High rise, same as a condo. And when I'm talking about a condo, I'm not talking about just any attached property where you only own the inside of it. I'm talking about specifically a high rise in a very high density urban area. First misconception that I hear of a lot is downtown's noisy or dangerous. The reality of day-to-day life is it's just another neighborhood, and I've never experienced any kind of violent crime walking around. It's actually, for how many people live here, it's a very close, tightly knit community. And two, condos are tiny and restrictive. While I do have less square feet overall than I did in my house, I don't feel constrained or I don't feel confined or anything. My wife, my son, my cat, and my 70-pound dog all live with me, and we feel very comfortable in under 1,300 square feet, when our house with the yard was about 1,600 plus a basement. Misconception number 3, HOAs are a ripoff. And I'm going to touch on this a little bit more later. While HOA fees are high, in my unit, my HOA fees are over $1,000. Like that's a lot of money. But generally, what people don't realize, that when you buy a house, you're supposed to budget for 1% of the property value going towards maintenance. So if you own a $700,000 house, you should allocate $7,000. Well, it's actually 1% to 2%. You should allocate $7,000 worth of funds to go towards maintenance. So if you factor that in, plus the utilities that you get covered and the convenience of not having to do any of the work yourself, it often pencils out quite a bit. Misconception number 3, and this is a funny one because this came up when I was telling a lot of people about the move that we were going to do, is that I was going to miss having a yard. And what's really nice is living in the Pearl, there's a lot of parks nearby that I can take my dog to, and he can run around off leash. And when I had a yard, I just let it go. I neglected it. So this is more of not having a yard is more of a benefit to me, because it's one less thing for me to worry about. Misconception number 5, that getting your groceries is inconvenient. There's 4 grocery stores that I could walk to. There's more that I could walk to, but there's 4 that I choose to, and some of them are really fun specialty stores. So grocery shopping is actually much more enjoyable now than it was before, and I'm not ever having to fight for a parking spot because I just walk a couple blocks to the grocery store. Okay, let's dive into it. The actual pros and cons here. Number 1 is the walkability. It's hard to believe that I lived without this kind of walkability my entire life, because there's no going back. My favorite bar, shout out Lowbrow, is a dive bar 1 block away from my house, and I see friends, and I'm there constantly, and I can just stumble home if I want to. Or I've been eating out quite a bit more, and somehow I've actually lost weight and it's just from all the walking around that I'm doing. I hardly use my car. So the next pro is public transportation, really big one here. If I need to get anywhere, I can just hop on the streetcar, which can take me to a Max Line or bus if I choose to take it. Generally, if I have to go anywhere further than I can get to, if I were at a walk, I just drive my car. But being able to have that public transportation is a really nice plus, so I don't have to ever worry about parking or anything. Before I lived here, I would have, maybe my barber was, 15 minutes from my house. The grocery store I would go to was, 15 minutes in the other direction. I felt like all the things that I had in my life were a little scattered, but and this is a combination of me just wanting to support my local neighborhood and economy, is I've got everything I need within a few blocks here, and it's much more convenient. So energy efficiency is a huge positive living in these buildings. Most of the ones that have been built in the last 20 years are LEED certified, which means they're a lot more energy efficient. My cost for heating and cooling is not even noticeable. And I will, in the summer, I will blast AC so cold to where I wear a sweater sometimes, which probably isn't the best thing to do, but I don't even notice my bill changing. So that's really nice. When I lived in my old house, it was electric heat and it was little baseboard heaters, and we had our bill was hundreds of dollars a month when we were heating it, and it was cold. Going into the health benefits, again, it's just kind of it is a more active lifestyle. You're walking around, the people around. I'm very fortunate to have friends around here, and we walk everywhere when we're gonna hang out. So it kind of forces me to take better care of myself. So a lot of the motivation for us to make the move when we did make it was the schools. The elementary school my son goes to is Chapman, and it's much higher rated than the neighborhood that we were living in before. And that was another one of those factors that helped nudge us in making this transition. So the schools are surprisingly highly rated in the Pearl. Security and peace of mind are I can't speak enough on the safety and security. You know, I'm in a secure building. People can't just come in, and even if they were to get in, there's concierge blocking them, and then there's a fob. You know, then you have to fob up the elevator from there. And then I'm behind a locked door surrounded by neighbors. I've never felt safer in my entire life living here in the Pearl. Another great thing, and I'll try to remember to cut to it later, is just the views. It's, you know, there's some cold mornings where it's foggy and I feel like I'm in the clouds, and then at night I'm surrounded by lights, and it feels like it's Christmas year round. I get to see beautiful sunsets, and depending on which building you're at, you're gonna get different views, whether it's the mountains, the West Hills, Mount Hood, the river, or a more urban landscape. And it's really nice to just look out your window and see something like this. Okay, all right, the cons. Honestly, I like living here, so there's not as many negatives, but there are some that are like, you have to know, and that are serious. Like, there's no escaping an HOA. I know they have a bad reputation, and there's been times, okay, and I'll be honest, like the day I moved in, my dog was a little stressed out and he was barking a lot, and I got a complaint, and I was terrified that I'd have to move because my dog was gonna be a nuisance. He ended up being fine the next day. He was just a little weirded out, but you do have to be a lot more mindful of your neighbors when living in an HOA. But you know, that could also be a positive, because you're not gonna have to worry about your neighbors being really noisy or disturbing you, or, you know, damaging your property, because we're all in this together. And this is a con for me, but might be a positive for you guys. I'm never alone, which, like, don't get me wrong, I'm a people person, but when I want to shut down and be alone, I don't want to talk to anybody. And, you know, as a realtor, I'm always kind of like on display. My office is actually in the same building. It's just on the main floor. So I always have to dress, you know, professional and try to be more personable with people. And, you know, there's some days I just want to wear my sweats and just like put my headphones in and check out. And I don't get that same luxury that I did when I lived in a house. So as much as I can justify the HOA dues, they're very expensive, and the taxes in downtown Portland are very expensive. And HOA dues have increased dramatically. A lot of that is mostly the cost of insurance has gone up over the last few years, and the cost of labor has gone up. So it's meeting the demand. It's not like these buildings are hoarding all this money. So another con as a dog owner, before I could just open the door and let my dog out in the backyard. That's just not something I get to do anymore. But, you know, so if, you know, at night we go out for a walk, no matter if it's raining or not. So to me, that's a bit of a negative. So another big negative, and unfortunately this is a barrier to entry for a ton of people, is living down here is more expensive. You know, not just are the groceries more expensive downtown than they are, you know, just a few miles away on the east side, but the property taxes are very high here, and the HOA dues are very high. You know, it's about the same as it's actually a little less than a lot of urban markets, but they have gone up quite a bit over the last few years. So another negative, not so much for me because I do have 2 deeded parking spaces, but parking can be rough. And, you know, last week I had a bunch of friends over, and they all had to fight for parking downtown. So, you know, if you host a lot of people over, be prepared to explain to your friends how to park, or where to park. And into, you know, the community, the HOA, every building has different rules and regulations. Some have animal restrictions, some have noise restrictions, some have different moving in and moving out procedures. And, you know, every building's different with the rules, but you are gonna have to be mindful of your neighbors. And when moving into a condo, make sure to review the rules and regulations. When I was deciding whether to make this move or not, I was consulting with a friend, and I was just thinking about like the business opportunity. I'm gonna meet more people, I'm gonna be in the buildings, I'm gonna get more clients. And he challenged me to just look at it from a different perspective of, the lifestyle that I'm going to get, you know, the convenience of, if I forgot something at work, I just pop upstairs, grab my stuff. Or day to day, you know, I can bump into my wife walking my dog, or see my kid and take breaks and just spend more time with my family. I'm very fortunate that my wife works with me, but you know, having my office downstairs and you know, us working together, I get more time with her than I've ever had, even though we have a 5-year-old boy. Like when we first started dating, we'd never had this much time together, and it's a very special life. I hope my perspective and experience was helpful to you guys. If you're thinking about moving into a condo, whether it's this building or a building across the country, you know, I'd love to be a resource for you. If there's any information that I can give you, or or if I can help you in any way, let me know. Please like, subscribe, it helps the channel, and comment your favorite part about this video. Talk to you guys soon.